Well, you know what it is. It's Friday, and it's time for the About Mansfield Consumer Advice Series. And today we're talking about your wealth, your income, your 401k, your nest egg, your money. And with us here in the studio is Phillip Washington Jr.
How's it going?
You look like you're wearing the same clothes as last week.
Yeah, and I just, it's been a long week. I haven't left the studio.
And coincidentally, I'm wearing the same clothes as last week as well. Today is the 29th of April, and
Yeah, it is, right? We just time traveled.
that's right. We're actually recording this on the 22nd. I got to give a little shout out that it's actually my time to take a day off. Usually when we're recording a week ahead, it's because you're taking a day off. My time to take a day off because today, April 29th, Friday, my daughter will be getting married at 5 o'clock.
Congratulations in advance.
And I will accept that congratulations only because I like the guy that she's marrying.
That's important.
She's chosen well. So to Sophia in Austin, looking forward to what we're just a few hours away. So let's get to the topic at hand. Frequency of the world is changing, and I've heard you say this on your podcast, which, as you can see over Phillip's right shoulder, is Wealth Building Made Simple, his podcast. He has mentioned this many times. Frequency of the world is changing. Are you tuned in? Phillip, what does that mean for investors?
So what it means is everybody. So there's like this multiverse concept that is. There's all kinds of cool movies being made about it. It's obviously happening in the Marvel universe. There's like a really cool new movie about it too. I forget the name of it, but it's in line with like which were the spiritual stuff and physics. Physics people, scientists, meet where we all are perceiving life differently. Multiverses, right? So if there's 8 billion people, there's 8 billion different universes, right? Because you and I are here having this conversation, and we both are perceiving the conversation differently, right? And people who are listening are perceiving the conversation very differently, and it's based on our background experiences that have shaped us, right? Here's a side note, cool thing. If you look up what DNA means, which is what I do as a nerd, I can't even pronounce what the word means, but it basically boils down to, at the root level, like a data storage system, right? So DNA stores the belief of the people who created us, right? Which is stored belief of people who created them, on and on and on and on and back, right? And so, so you look at that and you understand, oh, okay, that is very interesting. And so we're born with DNA, and then we also kind of continue to rebuild our DNA, which is new beliefs based on like our experiences that shape us, right? And most people DNA or beliefs are imposed on them by the world. A lot of people haven't learned how to reprogram themselves, and so just by nature, people can only see with their five senses, right? Which is basically the perception is based on like your past experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to be tuned in to the frequency of the world changing, right, which with the spiritual world, calls that being connected with God, right, which God just means good, right? If you don't want to go super religious, like God just means good. That's what the word means.
Right.
It means good. And so if you want to be connected with good, then you have to be open, right? You have to be see with what the magi or Masons call see with the eye of imagination, right? Or being tapped into the frequency of good, right? Which I won't go into how it mixes with science, but scientists like completely understand the fourth dimension and all that kind of stuff. So and so the hard part, and I'm getting to the point. The hard part is suspending belief in your senses, but you have to do that to accept right? What the frequency is telling you, right? And so that's what it means to investors is if, for example, if you say, and here's where I'm going with this, Steve. I'm gonna get to a story that'll communicate it. I'm sitting at this local bar, and I'm sitting with some friends, and of course, and they listen to the podcast, and they go, "So tell me about Bitcoin."
Yeah.
And so, and I won't. Y'all have heard about Bitcoin, so I won't go into it. So I explain it, and then one person says, "Yeah, but Philip, I just can't get how something digital is gonna hold this value." And I said, "Yeah, that's because you were born like 40 years ago." I was like, I was like, if we time travel 200, 300 years ago, and I picked up a piece of paper and I said, and we tell somebody this piece of paper will be worth, a piece of paper will be worth trillions of dollars in the future, they look at us like we was crazy. I was like, forget the fact that the money is already digital. I was like, the money you got in, because they use the example of, I can go to the bank and pull out money. I was like, well, you can go to your crypto, you can go to your Bitcoin account and cash out your Bitcoin at any time. You can do it Saturday at midnight when the bank is closed. If you can't get to it at ATM, you can do it on your phone with Bitcoin. So
Right.
yeah, you can do the same thing. I said, but your bank doesn't have all the money that it tells its customers is going to have. It's money's already digital. You just don't understand how the system works. And I didn't say it like that, but my point is,
Right.
they were limited on what they can perceive and understand versus and when I explain things, you can see the mind being closed, right? It was not open to any logic, any reason, because it was not what their 40 years of experience, told them was true.
Well, and you talked about in past podcasts the evolution of the horse and buggy going to the automobile is embracing new technology.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think of Bitcoin and I think of digital currency, I think of for instance, you and I got together for drinks last night, and I paid with a card. There's no cash involved. The card goes digitally to my bank, pulls that money out, and how's that different? How is that not different from cryptocurrency, although crypto being an international currency versus the U.S. dollar
Mm-hmm.
being here? Um, the world
Yep.
is changing,
Fast.
so get on board.
Get on board. Yeah, and I did an Instagram post today. I was basically saying, the same people. There are people who will, yeah, I don't know what the right word is, not make fun of, but you know, smirk or you know, be smug to people that um, hold cash
Yeah.
in their mattress, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's so dumb. You can't earn any interest." And I'm like, "Well, they just lack knowledge. Like the fear of banks were passed down to them from their grandparents, and that fear passed, so they never had a chance to participate in earning interest on it because of fear. What's the difference between them and you? You know what I mean? Like there's no difference. They lack knowledge. You lack knowledge. I was like, especially when you're sitting in front of somebody where if you have a question, ask me. I have the answer to it. I've answered all of them, right? But when you're closed-minded to it, right? I'm tapped into the frequency, so I can explain it to you, right? But you're not going to be able to be tapped into the frequency because you can't even hear me, and I'm matter, I'm physical, right? So you have to open your mind to become tuned in to what's going on. I had another, you know, another example that I was giving somebody because uh, well, people don't. There was a show. Have you ever seen Hook, Steve?
I've not seen Hook.
Yeah. So I personally believe it's one of Robin Williams, one of my favorite movies of his movies. I think it was maybe like in the '80s or
Oh, is that back when he was Peter Pan?
when he was Peter Pan. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a grown up Peter Pan, right? And there was a scene there where he became a grown up, so he forgot about how to use his imagination,
Uh-huh.
and so he had to the whole story was him relearning his imagination. And there was a scene where they're like, "All right, let's eat," and he was hungry because he hadn't eaten since he got to Neverland. And he sits down, and all the lost boys are just like, in his perception, they weren't eating anything, but they were like enjoying it. They were going, this just tastes so good, and he just was struggling because he was hungry, and so they basically, I forget this part, but they basically got him to open his imagination, and then he saw all the amazing food and got to participate in it and enjoy it, right? And I think as a kid, I just took it as, oh, okay, he's an adult who lost his imagination. They're imagining, right? Whatever, whatever. And I grew up and I realized, oh, the entire economy is imagination, right? Because if you really break it down to it, like why did I go pay? We were talking before,
Yeah.
$200 for like some leather shoes that probably cost whatever $10 to make, $5 to make, right? Or why does a person spend $250 on a ticket to have a chef that's known make them a meal, right? And each plate, because this is per person, so each plate might cost the chef $30-$40 to make,
Right.
at most. Everything else is experience, right? Or, why do people pay $100,000 for a signature of another man on a jersey? You know what I mean? Or $1 million for lunch with a human being,
Or a football.
or a football, right? And so my point is, suspend your judgment on what you think is value, because there is no real value. It's all belief, right? People, money's not backed by anything. I mean, what does that even mean, right? Okay, so if it's backed by gold, what is gold backed by? Belief, you
Sure.
know? And so everything is backed by belief. The entire economy is built on belief. And so an unlock, right? The specific unlock, not a metaphysical. I'm telling you how to unlock and tap into the frequency is suspend your judgment. Like, everybody's so judgmental. They're like, oh, this is dumb, or this is whatever. And you may not say this is dumb, but when you are saying, I don't understand, I can't, and you're not willing to find out, it means you're judging it. You're saying, I think it's dumb. Listen, you go talk to my 11-year-old or my 6-year-old, or a 15-year-old, and it's perfectly natural for them to buy digital stuff. I mean, they buy digital skins for their games,
Right.
and they cannot transport it out in value. So for them to be able to say, wait a minute, I can buy a digital asset and I can change it and move it around to wherever I want, like, that's heaven, right? And you people who miss it are the equivalent of the people that you're looking at now saying, well, why you got your cash in the mattress? That's dumb. Like, it's no different. You're just old in your mindset. In your mindset, you're old.
So these are people who really have a tough time with change. And whether it's we're not going to, something as simple as we're not going to redecorate our bathroom because it's change. I like the way it is. I like the old, comfortable way. But this being on a much grander scale of, hey, yeah, the world is changing. Maybe it is time to embrace change.
Yep, they fell in love with their creation.
If someone wanted more information about tuning in, how can they reach Phillip Washington Jr.?
StonehillWealthManagement.com and my podcast, Wealth Building Made Simple, on every major podcasting platform. If you don't know how to use podcast platforms, you can just go to askphillip.phillipwashingtonjr.com, or you can get it off my Stonehill Wealth Management podcast. StonehillWealthManagement.com site.
That's Phillip Washington Jr. And just take 5 seconds. Wish a happy marriage to my daughter. And
yes, absolutely. Happy marriage. Enjoy it. Right. Listen to your mother and father. They've been married an amazingly 35 years coming up.
Not only coming up. But,
oh yeah, I guess at this point in time it would be like.
Right. Today being the 29th, the 26th was Maria and my 35th wedding anniversary.
Happy early anniversary, I guess.
Thank you.
When it comes out, happy anniversary, because it will be after. This time travel thing is different.
That's right. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.